So I remember about 5 years ago when I first saw an orgone pyramid. I don't know how well you can see that. And I thought they're just so beautiful. I'm an artist. I'm like, oh, I just want to make those. You can see my art behind me on the wall. And then I started, because I had already started playing with radionics and healing work, and I started seeing them, like radionics teachers and practitioners would have one near their machine. And so I started looking around and exploring, and I began to understand that there is an orgone energy that when we encase metals with crystals inside resin, the pressure of the resin causes what's called an orgone field. It's an orgone energy, and you can look up Wilhelm Reich and really learn more about it. And so I really got into it and started working, and then making cloud busters and using copper and really understanding that these pyramids are way more than just pretty paperweights. And at the end of the day, anytime you take a crystal and put it in resin, it's going to have some magnetic power to it, in my opinion. And what I started doing is I started calling these intention pyramids, and I do them by custom order. Don't do as many as I used to. And I use radionics to charge some of the metals and the crystals. Okay, cool. So I make orgone pyramids. That's not what this is about. I got to thinking about a lot of people that I work with have emotional clearing work to do. And so based on some of the pioneers in subtle energy, like Wilhelm, like Marcel Vogel, who understood the idea of the pointed ended of crystal, and just all sorts of different energy practitioners who have a lot of credibility. And I thought, what if I could create a device, a very simple device that could help people change their bad beliefs? And a bad belief, in my opinion, is simply a story that has been rolling around either consciously or more than likely unconsciously in the back of a person's brain over and over and over again. And after a certain point of time, it just becomes automatic to think this thought. And it's a wrong thought. And it's a thought that will hold you back. For example, if I ask one of my clients, why didn't you make more sales this year? They might say, it was the market, it was the clients, it was my funnel, it was whatever. But at the end of the day, your success is always going to be based on your emotions and your unconscious beliefs. Focus and frequency. And what makes me sad is when I see so many people who are good people, who have good hearts, who have spent tons of money on all the coaching and all the programs they really, really want to heal, but they're telling themselves a story that's been there for many years, and they can't get it out of their minds. So I decided that I wanted to create some sort of a tool that would assist. And, obviously, there's all sorts of tools. I'm not saying this is the best by any stretch of the imagination, but what I'm saying is I wanted something that was easy, handheld, and could be effective. So it started by me understanding that the energy healer Donna Eden, told us that we can trace our meridians with a magnet, and that can release blocked energy. And then along came Dr. Bradley Nelson, who created the emotion codes and the body codes. And, I really read his work and had some treatments, and they were okay. They weren't bad. But what I really understood was he was having people, and practitioners as well, take a magnet and swipe from the governing vessel, which goes from here to the back of your head. Well, it goes further, but just doing swipes. And I thought, that's really interesting. And so I started doing some research, and I came to find out that magnets have been used in healing for, years and years. And I knew that for physical healing. I did not realize it for mental and emotional healing. So, I went down that research rabbit hole for months. And I'm like, okay, so there is something to this right here, because this is where we hold energy, the governing vessel. We hold memories, and we hold blocked energy, and we hold beliefs. Plus, it goes over the whole brain, right? The hippocampus and the basal ganglia, where a lot of those memories are stored. And then I really looked into the work of Marcel Vogel. And Marcel, as I mentioned earlier, he's the one that created the double terminated, so the little pointed end. And you can look up on the internet, and you'll see he's doing this thing like he's holding his brain and he's looking through a crystal at a person. And at first blush, you would think, okay, he's a woo-woo. But you got to remember, this guy was a scientist. He was the scientist for IBM. Like he understood crystals, quartz crystals, and he was a very, very, if he wasn't the inventor of putting them in computers, he was right up there on the forefront. So this guy was a scientist who said, crystals amplify. What if we put intentions in crystals? Okay. So that was my second thing. We also know, and I know this from just working, building my pyramids, that copper is a conducer. It conducts electricity. So I could put a copper cable from right here to all the way, who knows how long, miles? I don't know. But I could definitely put it from here to the other end of my property. And if I put electricity on it, it would follow it all the way. So what are human beings? We are electrical in thought. Our whole body is electrical. Magnetic in emotion. So we are electromagnetic beings, and we have electromagnetic field. And the quantum field at large is electromagnetic. So I got to thinking about, well, how can I combine all these? Now, the third element I want to tell you about is sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is really, really important. It's in many, many, many potentizers, radionics devices, imprinters. I don't have a coil here handy, but the Rodon coil, which I have a few of those laying around, which I plug in and run frequencies through, those are a sacred geometry, right? And it incorporates Tesla and spirals and all of that. Here's one I have, one of KRT's. See, it's more than just a plastic chip, and if you don't know that, you don't know that. But you don't have to know that. You can just carry it around and use it where you can douse on it to ask questions, or you could, if you wanted, put an intention on top of it and just set it there. It's great for that, right? But I wanted to create a tool that went along with my coaching, what I work with, and all the clients I've seen. And one of the main things that I see with my clients is a dysregulated nervous system. And dysregulated nervous systems mean that people are living in their monkey mind, their amygdala. When our amygdala is activated, we are always in fight or flight or chasing shiny objects. The amygdala is not just responsible for stress and cortisol and adrenaline. The amygdala is also responsible for dopamine. And here's the thing, dopamine feels pretty good. We're like, yeah, let's go get that. Chocolate, dopamine, alcohol, any addiction, gambling, shopping. I have a lot of people who are like, next new shiny object, new book, new coaching program. So that can be a dopamine hit. And it's not always bad to get a dopamine hit. But if you're making your decisions and living your life waiting for the other shoe to drop or chasing the next high, that's not good. Because when we are living in our amygdala, our executive center, our prefrontal cortex, where visionaries live, where everything you ever want to get accomplished can get accomplished from operating in that brain. But sadly, so many people are not operating at that level of mind. So many people are in their monkey mind. Okay, so I wanted to create something that could help people get out of the monkey mind and embed an intention. So there's two ways to use this, and I will introduce it, and I will hold it up in just a moment. But there's two ways to use it, and the first, and I call, when people order these, and this is still the prototype I'm showing you, but when people order these, it will come with a background paper explaining what I just explained in a nutshell, but it will also come with two formulas. And there's the fast fix, which you can just take the magnetic end and think of like if you have a stressful event. Similar to the way you do EFT. Like you have a stressful event, you would just run it from your third eye, and you would just do a certain number of swipes. And I say a certain number because I put the numbers of swipes and breaths that we take when we're doing the intention to a Tesla 369, which is a significant number if you understand, subtle energy. So the other end of the formula is the more ritualistic side. And for that, we would come up with an intention that you have. So let's just say, for lack of, of thinking of anything specific, let's just say that you have an intention of wanting to release 20 pounds. That's your intention. You want to lose weight. I don't like to say lose weight because the brain does not like to lose things. So I say release weight. So you want to release 20 pounds. There's a story, there's a counter intention why you haven't yet done the practices, because it's not rocket science. You take less in and you exert more out. Like eat less, work out more. Very basic. If it's so easy though, tell me why millions of people, especially in the United States, are struggling and suffering with obesity, right? Because of counter intentions. And I'm not getting into that here. But with the more formal approach, we would ask ourselves the story we're telling about not releasing the weight. So for example, it could be, I don't feel safe being slim. And that's a real thing, by the way. And so we would think about that, and then we would take the magnet, and we would feel that not feeling safe, and we would take the magnet, and we would do it, the swipes that you're doing, until you don't feel a charge. You could also use it, say someone at the office said something snarky to you, and it just set you off, or someone on Facebook said something and it set you off. You can also use the magnetic side. Think about the negative feeling, how it makes you feel, and just release it. You don't have to think about what you would say or what caused it or counter intentions. You just feel the feeling. Remember, the magnetic approach on the governing vessel is lifting the energy. It's lifting all of that that's related to it. And it's like a trauma packet. It's not just one thought or one feeling. It's like a trauma packet. Like think of Christmas lights, they're all tangled up. So we just want to remove all the connections with that negative feeling, okay? Then, now that we've gotten rid of that and we know nature abhors a vacuum, now we want to install the preferred intention. So for our little example here, we would say, I am a healthy, strong, beautiful weight, or whatever you want to say. And you would take your crystal, so you're going to turn your wand over, and you would take your crystal, and you would hold it to your third eye, just like Marcel Vogel did. You would close your eye, you would hold it to your third eye, and now you will envision yourself in your new, svelte, strong, sexy body. You'll see the image, and you'll feel the emotion of already having it. Very key. The crystal will amplify it, okay? And then you will move it down to your heart, and you will give thanks that it's done, okay? Sounds like a lot of work for a very simple tool. So this is what I'm calling the wishing wand. Someone said intention stick, but I don't like the sound of that. And at this end, we have two. One is embedded, north facing. We don't want to use a south facing magnet. And this is what you would simply, when you're feeling the negative story, whatever it is, you're feeling that and you're doing this, it's 36 times. And you're just doing that. You're just looking in the mirror, you're feeling it, and you're just doing it. And then you're making sure, is it gone? And then you're going to turn it around. Now, if you're wondering why it's 12 inches, it's because at the opposite side of this magnet is the south end. And the south end is not good. The south end, in fact, is so strong that if I didn't have 12 inches, it could literally disrupt the energy of this copper coil, which I didn't even mention. This copper coil has been radionically treated for aura clearing. I know all this. Aura clearing, amplification of crystal, and the 528 hertz of love and creativity. So this south side of this magnet could disrupt the energy of what I radionically treated. But with the distance of 12 inches, I'm pretty safe. It's not going to do that. And just as a double insurance, inside here, before the crystal went in, is a gold metal sacred geometry. It's maybe a flower of life, the eye of Horus, but it's a sacred geometry. It's about that big, but it's in here, and it's resined inside there. And then a quartz crystal with the point at the end, which is also wrapped in copper. And so then I would take this end after I've swept away the negative emotions. And now I'm going to see myself. I'm going to hold it to my third eye. I would take my glasses off. I'm going to hold it to my third eye, and I'm going to feel the excitement and the energy of having that perfect body that I want. But I'm also going to feel the emotions. It's so important. I want you to think electric, magnetic. Electric, we're removing. The magnetic and the electric, magnetic, we're implementing. So then I'm going to see and feel myself in this slim new body. Oh, it's just wonderful. And I'm going to take 9 breaths, because we've done 36 swipes. Now we're going to do 9 breaths. If you want to do them through your nose, that's fine too. But I like through the mouth, because it moves energy. And then after I've done my 9 breaths, I'm just going to move it down to my heart. And I'm just going to give thanks. It is already done. It is already done. So there you have the wishing wand. As I said, this is a prototype, but I don't want to lie. It's going to look like this. This is pretty much the finished version. Wouldn't think that it would take a lot for a prototype, but let me tell you, from picking the right kinds of resin that don't leave a mark to soldering it properly, welding, there's a lot that goes into it. I am not the person I would think would be an inventor. But anyway, if this is something that you're interested in, I'm doing these custom. And the reason I'm doing them custom is because, number one, I'm not into manufacturing subtle energy tools. That's not my thing. Again, I wanted to make them mostly for my clients who wanted to order one. And because when I'm making things by hand, I infuse them not just radionically. You know, these go on my radionics device, but I infuse them with my energy for that person. So, it's very important to understand that no matter what tools we use, I don't care if it's your radionic instrument, if it's one of these, if it's a pyramid, I don't care what it is you're using, a tensor ring, doesn't matter. It's all coming from you. And so one of the things that as I custom make these for people, I'm also going to set an intention for the client, which will go in a little scroll and will go inside here. And I will attach it either with glue or resin so that every time you're using it, it doesn't, go back and forth and the sound drives you crazy. But I want to make sure I implement each one with a special intention for that person. So that's why they're custom made. Anyway, so let me know if that's something that you're interested in, and I would be happy to handcraft one for you. And I am wishing you well with the wishing wand. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.